Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, because tonight we are diving deep into one of the most dramatic and shocking storylines ever whispered in the world of Little People, Big World. Rumors, emotions, and family fallout collide when Caryn Chandler's name gets pulled into a whirlwind. A pregnancy, twin babies, questions of DNA, and Matt Roloff's growing storm of emotions. If you thought you'd seen drama before, trust me, you haven't heard the half of this one. Now let's set the stage. Caryn Chandler, longtime Roloff Farms manager, later partner of Matt Roloff, has always been in the spotlight. Viewers of Little People, Big World know her as someone who entered the Roloff orbit years ago, changing the family dynamic forever. But now, she's at the center of a rumor so wild it feels pulled straight from a soap opera. Whispers spread, Caryn pregnant not with just one baby but twins. And then comes the kicker, claims that her ex-husband might be connected through DNA. Just pause on that for a second. Twins, DNA, ex-husband, while Matt Roloff is standing right there in the center of it all. For fans, jaws hit the floor. For Matt, set doesn't even begin to describe it. This isn't just gossip around the farm. It's explosive. To understand why this rumor hit so hard, you've got to rewind. Caryn was married before. She's a mom already, and her past relationship carried its own complications. But bringing that history forward, mixing it with speculation about new babies, that's gasoline on a family fire. The Roloffs have been through divorces, custody battles, farm inheritance fights, and breakups that played out under TV cameras. But now, Caryn's history with her ex is resurfacing at the exact moment she's trying to build a future with Matt. And suddenly, DNA becomes more than a biological fact, it's a symbol. Question mark hanging in the air. Matt Roloff is no stranger to being questioned. His divorce from Amy Roloff left him in constant scrutiny. People wondered if Caryn played a role in that separation. And now, years later, instead of peace, he's watching the internet light up with theories about Caryn, her ex, and whether twin babies are on the way. Let's talk about Matt Roloff himself. Fans describe him as tough, a survivor, a dreamer who fought his way through surgeries, pain, and obstacles to build Roloff Farms into a legacy. But if there's one thing Matt has always craved, it's control. He plans, he builds, he negotiates, he argues, but he likes to know what's happening. So imagine being Matt, waking up one morning, scrolling through social media and seeing headline after headline. Caryn pregnant with twins? DNA drama with ex-husband. That's not the storyline he signed up for. Suddenly, every interviewer, every fan page, every blog is pointing at him. Matt, are you the father? Matt, what's your reaction? Upset? Of course he's upset. But it's more than that. It's about pride, it's about image, it's about being blindsided by something you didn't control. And if you know Matt, you know being blindsided is the one thing he can't stand. Now, let's break down the twin angle, because that's what fueled so much of this wildfire. Twins aren't just babies, they're a statement. They double the drama, they magnify the questions, and they tie back to a history the Roloffs know all too well. Remember, Jeremy and Zach are twins. The Roloff family literally began its fame with the story of raising a set of twins with big personalities, different statures, and clashing futures. So when fans heard the word twins connected to Caryn, it wasn't just gossip, it was déjà vu. Could Caryn be bringing another set of twins into the Roloff universe? Would history repeat itself in the strangest of ways? And if the DNA question was real, who would claim those children? Her ex? Matt? Both? Neither? This isn't just a family story anymore. It's a reality TV cliffhanger written in real life. And you can bet the rest of the Roloff family didn't sit quietly while these rumors spun out of control. Amy Roloff, Matt's ex-wife, has had her fair share of sharp words for Caryn. Imagine her reaction now, watching headlines speculate about Caryn's loyalty, about Matt's heartbreak, about twins that might not even be his. For Amy, this is déjà vu of a nightmare. Once again, her ex-husband's relationship is dragging the family into the tabloids. Zach and Tori, Jeremy and Audrey, Molly and Jacob, all the Roloff kids have their own lives now. But news like this doesn't stay on the sidelines. seeps into family group texts, it colors conversations at birthdays and holidays. Suddenly, everyone's asking, is it true? What does this mean for Dad? For the farm? For the show? And let's not forget TLC. For a network that thrives on drama, a twin baby scandal is gold. But for the people living it, it's tension, tears, and unanswered questions. Now, where we left off, the rumor mill was on fire. Caryn Chandler's name had been stamped on headlines she never asked for. Pregnant, twin babies, DNA questions with her ex-husband, and Matt Roloff's fury simmering under the surface. But the story didn't stop there. It only grew bigger, louder, and far more complicated. Welcome back, because part 2 is where this rumor becomes a tidal wave, crashing into every corner of the Roloff world. It started small, with whispers on fan forums and cryptic posts on social media. But within days, the story had leapt into full-blown media coverage. Tabloid blogs ran with it. Headlines screamed in bold type, "Caryn's secret twins? DNA drama shakes Roloff farms." Talk shows picked it up too. Podcasts dedicated entire episodes to dissecting every angle. Was Caryn really pregnant? Was the twin rumor a publicity stunt? Where did the ex-husband fit into this tangled web? And of course, the fans themselves became reporters. Screenshots of Caryn's old photos circulated with captions like, "Look at her hand placement, she's hiding a bump." A blurry paparazzi snap taken outside a grocery store was suddenly Exhibit A. One person claimed she was glowing, another swore she was wearing loose clothing to disguise something. For Caryn, it was invasive. For Matt, humiliating. For TLC, it was exactly the kind of storm that keeps reality TV alive. What made the whole thing worse was Caryn's silence. She didn't go online to deny it, she didn't issue a statement, she didn't sit down for an interview. Instead, she carried on with her day-to-day life, letting the world chatter. And that silence? It was like gasoline on fire. 'Cause in the world of public perception, silence often equals guilt. Fans read into every expression on her face, every word she didn't say. They began to fill in the blanks themselves. If she isn't denying it, maybe it's true. Meanwhile, Matt wanted answers. He didn't just want to know what the world was saying. He wanted Caryn to look him in the eye and clear the air. But if Caryn was saying nothing to the public, you can bet she wasn't saying much to him either. Whether it was her strategy, her stubbornness, or simply her way of coping, her silence became a weapon, one that cut deeper than words ever could. Let's pause and talk about this DNA angle. On the surface, it's about biology. Who fathered the rumored twins? Is there a genetic connection to Caryn's past? But beneath the surface, DNA became a metaphor for everything else. To Matt, DNA was about loyalty. If Caryn's name was being tied back to her ex-husband, it was like the past had crept back into the present. It wasn't just a question of who might be the father. It was a question of whether Caryn was truly with him, or whether old bonds still lingered. To the fans, DNA was proof. In a world where reality TV sometimes blurs the line between staged and real, DNA was the one thing that couldn't lie. And suddenly, everyone was demanding the truth. Get a test! Prove it. The irony? There were no babies, no DNA test, no official statement. But once an idea like that is planted, it takes root. People don't let go. And for Matt Roloff, it was like watching his credibility crumble over something that might not even exist. While Caryn stayed silent, Amy Roloff, Matt's ex-wife, couldn't resist throwing shade. On her own social media, she posted cryptic messages about trust, about relationships, about knowing your worth. She didn't mention Caryn by name, but the timing was too perfect to ignore. Fans connected the dots. Some said Amy was mocking Caryn's predicament. Others believed she was warning Matt. See? This is what happens when you chase someone new. For Amy, it was vindication. She had spent years defending herself against accusations that Matt left her for Caryn. And now, with Caryn in the hot seat, Amy had the luxury of sitting back and watching the circus unfold. But for Matt, Amy's shadow made it worse. Because every time he looked at Caryn, He couldn't help but remember the bitterness of his divorce, and how the world had never really forgiven him for moving on. Eventually, the pressure boiled over. Matt Roloff, usually calculated in his interviews, finally cracked. At a farm event, when a reporter asked him directly about Caryn and the twin rumor, he snapped. "You think this is funny?" he shot back. "You think my family is a game?" His voice was sharp, his expression raw. Cameras captured it all. That clip spread like wildfire. For years, Matt had controlled his narrative. But now he was losing grip. Fans debated whether his anger was proof the rumors were true, or just proof that they had gotten under his skin. Either way, the image of Matt Roloff, red-faced and furious, became a symbol of the chaos. TLC edited it into trailers, blogs dissected it frame by frame, and the world once again turned the Roloff family's pain into entertainment. And here's where it got truly heartbreaking. Beyond the rumors, beyond the DNA drama, beyond the twin speculation, there was the farm. Roloff Farms wasn't just land. It was the heart of the show, the family's legacy, the dream Matt had built from the ground up. But as the scandal grew, it began to tarnish the farm itself. Visitors weren't coming for pumpkins and photo ops anymore. They were coming to gossip, to peek behind the curtain, to see if they could spot Caryn. For Matt, the farm had always been his pride. Now it was being reduced to a sideshow. And that, more than anything, broke him. Because if Caryn's rumor could damage the farm, then it wasn't just his relationship on the line. It was his entire legacy. You might think TLC would be thrilled with all this drama, and in a way they were. Drama drives ratings. A scandal like this could pull lapsed viewers right back into Little People, Big World. But there was also risk. If the story spun too far out of control, it could alienate the Roloffs, fracture the cast, and end the show altogether. Producers whispered behind the scenes. Should they lean into the rumor or steer clear? Some argued that the twin scandal could be the perfect storyline for season 20. Others feared it would destroy the family permanently. Either way, cameras were rolling and TLC knew one thing for certain. Whether real or not, the world wanted answers. Meanwhile, the fans refused to let it die. Entire Reddit threads were dedicated to analyzing Caryn's old interviews. Facebook groups ran polls, pregnant or not, husband involved or not. TikTok creators made skits reenacting the supposed drama. And then came the so-called evidence. Someone dug up a birth record under a similar name. Another person claimed to have seen Caryn at a clinic. None of it was verified, but in the court of public opinion, verification didn't matter. The fans became detectives, lawyers, and judges all at once. And the verdict? They wanted the truth, no matter how messy it was. By this point, Caryn wasn't just silent, she was withdrawn. Friends close to her said she stopped going out as much, stopped posting as much, stopped engaging altogether. For a woman who had once been so confident in front of the cameras, the pressure was too heavy. Matt, on the other hand, became defensive. His interviews grew sharper, his tone colder. He wasn't just upset anymore, he was bitter. And when bitterness seeps into a relationship, it's poison. Together, they were unraveling. Not because of what was true, but because of what people believed. That's the cruelest part of public life. Perception can crush reality. So here we are. Caryn silent. Matt enraged. Fans obsessed. TLC torn. The farm at risk. And the Roloff family watching the spectacle unfold with wide eyes and crossed arms. The rumor of twin babies, the ghost of an ex-husband's DNA, and the fury of Matt Roloff. It had all grown into something far larger than any of them could control. And yet, the story isn't over. 'Cause what happens when rumors linger too long? What happens when silence refuses to answer questions? What happens when truth becomes a battlefield? That's what we'll uncover in Part 3, when this saga doesn't just shake a relationship but threatens to redefine the entire legacy of Little People, Big World. Stay tuned. Welcome back. If you've been with us from the beginning, you know how wild this story has become. Karen Chandler swept into a whirlwind of twin baby rumors. Her ex-husband's DNA suddenly a ghost at the table. Matt Roloff, furious, heartbroken, and fighting to protect his legacy. But in this final act, things reach a boiling point. Because when silence lingers, when rumors refuse to die, when family fractures deepen, truth becomes a weapon. And what unfolds next may change little people, big world forever. By the time weeks of gossip had stretched into months, Karen and Matt's relationship was no longer the same. They had gone from partners united in building a life together to near strangers under the same roof. Matt wanted answers. Clear ones. He wanted Karen to deny, to fight back, to put the rumors to rest. But Karen? She insisted silence was her strength. To her, speaking would validate the circus. To Matt, silence was betrayal. That night, the farm grew quiet. But inside the Roloff home, the silence was deafening. Two people who once shared plans for marriage, who once dreamed about growing old together, now stood on opposite sides of a rumor neither could control. That's how relationships crumble, not with shouting matches, but with silence that grows louder by the day. Eventually, the Roloff kids couldn't stay silent. Zach, the most outspoken of the siblings, hinted in an interview that the family was going through something tough. He didn't say Karen's name, but everyone knew what he meant. Jeremy, more private, kept quiet but posted cryptic Bible verses about truth and forgiveness. Audrey, his wife, chimed in with long Instagram posts about family values. Tori, loyal to Zach, kept her distance from Karen, even skipping one of Matt's farm events. For the Roloff siblings, Karen had always been a wedge between them and their father. Now, with the rumor about twins and DNA, the wedge felt more like a canyon. The farm was supposed to hold them together, but instead it was pulling them further apart. Behind the cameras, TLC faced a choice. Do they lean into the chaos, make it a centerpiece of the new season, and risk alienating the family for good? Or do they downplay it, risking lower ratings but protecting what little trust remained? In the end, the network did what networks always do, they gambled. Trailers teased the biggest family drama yet. Clips of Matt's anger, Karen's silence, Amy's cryptic words, all were spliced together into a cinematic storm. For fans, it was a promise. Answers were coming. For the Roloffs, it was betrayal. 'Cause even if the rumors weren't true, the show was using them anyway.